Welcome to the Discover Montcalm Podcast, where we're going to take a look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Duane Weed.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Discover Montcalm Podcast. I'm in Howard City, and I'm here with Marcus Mooney. Marcus, thank you for letting me come into your business today. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up? And I understand you've been in Howard City most of your life.
Yes.
Give me a little backstory.
I grew up in Howard City, right downtown Howard City. And we moved there when I was 2, I believe, and went to Tri-County High School, graduated from Tri-County High School in 2006. In 2006, the summer of 2006, I left Howard City for a little town in Pennsylvania for 9 months to go to a trade school for auto body, collision, refinishing, and trim and upholstery. So like sewing seats, custom headliners, carpets, and that kind of stuff. Was there for 9 months, came home, and I worked at a few body shops for a few years while I got my feet under me and really sharpened my craft. And then in 2014, started my own business.
And you started it, I understand, in a pole barn at your location.
Yeah, so we had a big pole barn at our house just outside of Sand Lake, Pearson area off of New Costa, and we started there. We ran there for 5 years, and we quickly outgrew it. It was just me and one other tech who is now my manager. While we're here, he was my manager. We ran that for 5 years, and it got to the point where we were doing 2 cars a week to we were doing 15 cars a week. The parking lot was too small, the barn was too small, and we quickly outgrew that location.
Okay.
So in 2 years ago, we bought this location in Howard City.
I'd like to start by asking a couple more personal questions. Okay. Who in your life has had the most influence on you and why?
Thinking back, and this has been a long time, I would say, I had a lot of pivotal people growing up, a lot of older generation growing up. I really like the older generation, older than myself. I'm 35 this year. The old school mentality, the good blue collar workers. Growing up, I started my first job at 12. I worked at Getch's Tree Farm, which is just right around the corner. Mm-hmm. My best friend's grandparents and parents owned that tree farm. His grandfather, we called him G-Bob, Bob Getch. He would pick me up every day. He would drop me off every day. At 10 o'clock, we'd eat breakfast. At 9 o'clock, we'd eat breakfast. Noon, we'd eat lunch. We didn't really work too hard, but we got stuff done during the day. And that was probably one of the bigger influences in my life. He passed away, it's been probably 7 years ago now. And, it was absolutely devastating when he did pass away. But he was a big influence on me. The work ethic, I always liked to work. That kind of just comes natural, and the entrepreneurship side of it, I've said since I was 14, I remember I wanted to be my own boss. My parents drove truck growing up, and I wanted to have a semi and be a diesel mechanic and haul cattle, because that was always my dream. I always just didn't want to be tied down under one thing. Now, as far as like getting into this industry, my grandfather was a hot rod builder, 60s, 70s, 80s. He passed away in the early 90s. I didn't really get to know him that well, but I had all his build books growing up of all the hot rods that he built, most of the hot rods that he built. He owned his own shop out of Rockford. He moved out to West Virginia for a while, owned his own shop out there. So I got to look at all those build books growing up of all the cool things that he did.
Everybody else is you're looking at comic books. Yeah. You're looking at build books.
Yeah, build books. And the artistic side of it really came into play as far as building or modeling a vehicle to what the vision you have in your head. Mm-hmm. And he was really good at that. He could take a pile of parts, and it would be. The biggest one that probably had the most impact on me looking at that build book was a 34 Ford 5-window coupe. When I graduated high school, all I wanted was to find that car. So we found that car, and it still had the original paint on it from about 1985, and come to find out a few years later, it's actually right on Cannonsville. It got sold and bought again, and I get to see it all the time now. So that was probably the most pivotal vehicle, okay, this is what I want to do. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. I just always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to work for myself, kind of set my own schedule and make my own way.
Okay. Did this kind of come about when you were in high school, or was it, I mean, because obviously you moved away after you graduated to start doing this.
Yep.
At what age did you start going auto?
Probably when I really think back to it, when I really get back to the roots. I was big into BMX when I was probably 12 to 13. We'd ride bikes around town all day long, and I was always in the garage tearing my BMX apart, and I'd go to Madsen's Hardware and I'd buy spray paint. We'd sand them down. Every week I'd change the color. So looking back at it, that's truly where it started. Now the auto body side of it was probably 14, 15 when I was thinking about, okay, this is what I want to do. I did shadow a couple diesel mechanics and realized I didn't want to roll around greasy all day. And so then I got into the career center at Montcalm and started there. So my junior year of high school, got into the auto body program, and that just kind of expanded from there.
I teach at the Montcalm Area Career Center.
Yep.
And auto body is no longer there.
Mr. Olson passed away.
And, the auto program's there, the diesel program's there, they've got welding, and a bunch of others. But, that particular program, as well as cosmetology, no longer exists at the Career Center. Because I was going to lead up to that. When you said that you were starting to get that, I was like, I wonder if he went to the Career Center.
Yes.
So, being local, you went there. You grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s. What was Howard City like in your childhood? What was the community like back, I guess, when you were growing up?
Yeah, so my parents worked, both of them drove truck. My dad was a regional driver, my mom was a local driver. So they were gone pretty much all day. So my sister and I fended for ourselves all day. So in the summer, we were riding bikes around town. It was still a small town, super small town community. Everybody knew everybody. If you did something you weren't supposed to do, my parents knew about it by the time they rolled in the door because somebody was sitting in the driveway.
I grew up in Morley.
Oh, yeah.
The same thing.
Yep.
I would do something wrong on one end of town, and my mom knew it by the time I got home.
Exactly.
And there's, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was cool at that particular moment in time,
Right.
But the idea that it was community, it was people looking after people. So the Career Center, then from there you said you went out east for, your training. And I think now's the time for me. I'm going to take a short little break. We're going to go to a sponsorship break here.
Okay.
And when we're done, we're going to go out to your shop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we can sit and talk about it,
Yeah.
but let's go out and see what you have.
Okay.
So we'll be right back.
All right.
We'd like to thank our sponsors. West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions is your perfect choice for managed IT, website design, website hosting, and consulting services. WMTDS.com, 616-485-7600. Custom Vinyl Signs and Busy Bee Embroidery and Gifts is your one-stop shop for embroidery, vinyl, screen printing, and engraving needs. Go to cvsdbusybees.com or call 989-261-7446. And DW Video, your film and videotape specialist. They design websites and business videos that tell and share your story. dwvideo.com, 231-250-9624. Now, back to our podcast.
Welcome back to the Discover Montcalm Podcast. We're in Howard City at Mooney's Autobody Experts. I'm here with Marcus Mooney, and we've moved out to the shop because this is where all the action happens. I know all the big stuff with the bill paying and all that happens in the office, but here's where the magic happens. What year did you move into this location?
It was 2 years ago in November, so I've been here just about 2.5-ish years.
So that was what, 2021?
21, yes.
Okay. Was this building already here, or did you have it built?
Yes, no, this building and the front building where the offices were already here. It actually worked out perfect. Rolling into this location, we hunted high and low when we started looking. And if you're anywhere from Cedar to Rogers Heights, just trying to find a location that would fit what we needed. And this happened to just be perfect. This back bay was just a storage room. The front area already had the 2 separate bays. The office space, we did some remodeling, but this was mainly what we were concerned with. We could work with everything else, making sure we had enough room for the paint booth, vehicles, and stuff like that.
When you started in your home, the building there on your property,
Yep.
Was this kind of where you wanted it to go, or?
It's kind of funny that you asked that. So this in my head is always where I wanted it to go. In my wife's head, she always wanted me to stay, just keep it simple, keep it small. And I did too, to a point, but I feel that growth is always has to happen. If that growth doesn't happen, you kind of hit a stalemate, and what's the point in really striving to do the next thing? So in the back of my head, I was always like, "Yup, this is where I want to be." Being at home was amazing. It was nice. I was a couple hundred yards from the house all day long. But at the end of the day, this gives me something to be a little bit more stable and, looking into the future for my kids, for retirement and stuff like that. This was the end goal all along.
So you moved in here in 2021. You've got a fair amount of business. I know we were talking off camera about how it kind of fluctuates year to year,
Yep.
and sometimes they're busier, but it's not always something you can pinpoint exactly when your busy times and that are. What are some of the services that you offer through your business here?
So what we do is we're 100% collision repair. So you hit a deer, have another run-in with a car, slide off the road. We do all forms of collision related repairs. We do have a detail bay. We have a full-time detailer that every vehicle that comes into our shop gets pre-washed, and then after all the repairs are done, it gets fully detailed on the outside, or on the inside and outside on the way out of the shop. Just so, as you can see, there's some vehicles sitting around that have the doors off, and we try to keep everything as clean and tidy as possible while it's here, but dust flies around. It's a very dusty profession. So everything gets cleaned and detailed on the way out. So in that, we have to have somebody here that knows the ins and outs of cleaning a vehicle, not just, wiping them out with a dirty rag in a corner of the shop where most body shops are like that. So in having him here, we also offer full detailing. So we do ceramic coats, paint correction, full detailing. So there's a whole line of that side that's kind of just a little extra. If we're gonna have somebody here to do it, we might as well offer those services.
Tell the audience, what is your website address and your social media?
So we run mainly off Facebook. We do have a website. We've kind of soft launched it. We really haven't pushed it. We do really well on Facebook. So if you go on Facebook, it's Mooney's Autobody Experts on Facebook. On Instagram, it's my personal. It's Marcus_Mooney_. There's a lot of our work on there. I've always just posted off my personal and never really made a shop account for the Instagram. But on Facebook, we tend to post videos. I try to do informational videos once every couple weeks. I would really like to get into doing them once a week, but it takes, an hour to compile, as we know, as we're doing right now. It takes time to compile that information and put it into a video form. And so there's a lot of information on there about the collision industry. You can watch back on videos of things that we have ran into in our almost 10 years of business now. Informing the customer of how a collision repair should go and what it should look like as far as, handling it from the accident scene into it rolling out of the shop, dealing with the insurance companies, all grand aspects of the collision repair.
Because on the insurance side, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the insurance company wants to direct you to where they want you to go.
Correct.
But you, as the insured, can choose the shop that you want to go to. Can you talk to us a little about that?
100%. That's probably the biggest fight we fight is most people, without some families are more unfortunate than others getting into collisions, but most people in their life, they really have never dealt with insurance companies. So they call the insurance company to make a claim, and the first thing that there's a few things we've picked up on. The first thing is either they're going to say we work with this shop, we prefer this shop, or this shop is a service select first. They have a whole bunch of different
fancy words
that they use. They'll say we can't guarantee warranties if you take it somewhere else, or we can't guarantee turnaround times, or the parts used on your vehicle. They come up with all kinds of stuff. What that truly is those body shops are contracted with the insurance company to give the insurance company a discounted rate on a repair for the referral of the business. So those are called DRPs, or select service shops. We are not a DRP or select service shop with any insurance company ever. I vowed when I started this business I never would be. That's the one fight we fight, is you have the right to have your vehicle repaired to OEM standards, using OEM parts, using correct paint procedures and repair procedures to make that vehicle back to pre-accident condition. So that's one thing that we...
that's your vow.
That's my vow. That is 100% my vow we do for every vehicle that rolls through the shop. So when you come in to have your vehicle repaired, it's not just drop your vehicle off, hand us the keys, 2 weeks later you pick your vehicle up. We have a 45-minute meeting with every customer that comes into the shop, and we explain to them, this is how the repair procedures and process is going to go, and this is what you can expect from us, and this is what you can expect from your insurance company through this process.
And it's communication. It all comes back to just good communication and letting people know that if we ran into a problem getting parts,
correct,
we're going to let you know. If there's a problem with the insurance, we're going to let you know.
Yep.
So it's that age old. It's just communicate, please.
Exactly. We started this previous fall, really pushing CCing the customers into the emails with the insurance company, so the customers can see what we deal with on a daily basis.
Well, you're being transparent.
Yeah, 100%. Transparency is, anytime a customer wants to come in and see their vehicle in the repair process, my door's always open in summer. These doors are open. Stop in the office and say, hey, I'd like to see where my vehicle's at. We'll walk you back here. I mean, we keep the shop clean, we keep it tidy. We have nothing to hide when you walk through these doors.
Well, and that's the way a business should run. As we're wrapping this up, is there anything about your services that we haven't touched on that you would like to mention at this point?
Knowing you can trust us when the vehicle comes through, it's an integrity thing. When nobody's around, how is that vehicle getting repaired? Because there's a lot of shortcuts you can do to a vehicle to get it repaired that's gonna look good to get it out the door, but what's that repair gonna look like in 6 months, a year, 10 years down the road? We have some overall restorations that we've done 10 years ago that still look good because it's an integrity thing. We do what we know needs to be done when nobody's around, and that leads to a long-lasting repair on a vehicle.
A couple of questions, but one of them here. Is there any question that I haven't asked you yet today that you would like to address at this point?
Probably the biggest thing is where do I see the collision industry going in the next, 5, 10, 15 years, or where has it came from? I'll just kind of elaborate on that a little bit. In the late 80s and 90s, it was, vehicles were very simplistic. They were 4 wheels, some sheet metal. You had your standard seat belts. Airbags didn't come into play until the early 90s.
And we could actually work on our own cars.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have to have a computer to work on the collision in your car. In the last 10 years, since I would say probably since the 2010-ish era, vehicles have changed a lot. They are a rolling computer. Everything is set off timing. Vehicles are designed completely different than they were in the 90s. So we have to keep evolving to stay up with those manufacturers' demands of how those vehicles are repaired rolling forward. And it changes every day. I mean, every day we write an estimate, something might change from that same vehicle that we repaired last week, but GM might have came out with a new procedure. So every time we write an estimate, we also pull the updated procedures for those vehicles, for airbag timing, for if that vehicle is to get in another collision 6 months down the road, is that vehicle going to perform the same to keep your family safe? Because if you cut corners, people get hurt, and there's a lot of
And that goes right back to what you said in an earlier question. It's about integrity.
Correct.
A question that I always like to end with.
Yeah.
Why should someone discover Montcalm County, and why, in your opinion?
It's kind of a little gem when you really get to know the people that are involved in the community, and anybody that's around the county. It's kind of off the beaten path. It's not Grand Rapids. It's not that busy life, and that's why I stayed where I stayed. And when I started a business, I said I want to be in the Howard City area, in this Panhandle area. Montcalm is a huge county when you take it all in as a whole. I'm partial to the Panhandle, to the west side of Montcalm County. It's everybody knows everybody. We kind of said it growing up,
Yeah.
And it's still at the roots. That's still the way it is, and that's what I love about it.
Well, Marcus, thank you for taking time to talk about your business. And on Facebook, where can they find you again?
Facebook, it's Mooney's Autobody Experts. Just type that in the search line and we should pull up. You can like us, and then you can also follow us to get updates on, as I post videos and stuff like that, you'll get notifications.
Your location?
Is 1337 South Ensley, which is actually Northland Drive, just south of Howard City, just south of Lake Montcalm. And that's where you can find us.
I know I had a long trip to get here today.
You're just around the corner.
I could have actually put it on my bike and rode over
Not
here.
today's weather, but
no, I understand
right?
that. I understand that. So I want to thank you for allowing me to come in and tell your story. Discover Montcalm Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, on discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Go and check out our episodes. We've been doing this well over a year. I can't believe that we've been doing it for so long, but yet we have just touched the surface of the stories that are available here in Montcalm County. So thank you for tuning in. Remember to buy and shop locally.
Connect and subscribe to Discover Montcalm Podcast at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Discover Montcalm Podcast. To be featured in an upcoming show, contact Duane at 231-250-9624. Remember to subscribe at discovermontcalmpodcast.com.